You're welcome back to the Naija Filmmaker, a podcast for us to talk about Nigerian filmmakers, their films, and how we can build a diverse and functional industry. I'm your host, Selegot. On this episode, my guest is Imoh Umoren. He is a writer and independent filmmaker. He has directed several films which include Children of Mud, The Coffin Salesman, and The Herbert Macaulay Affair. His film Hard Times won an AMVCA for Best New Media Video. We talk about his inspiration, directing children, and tips on securing distribution for your film. If you're a new listener, you're welcome and I hope you enjoy. Hi Imoh, you're welcome to the Naija Filmmaker.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, can you introduce yourself?
My name is Imoh Umoren. I'm a film director, TV producer, indie film director. That's what I'm categorized as mostly. And yeah, that's me. I'm a Nigerian guy, loves fried chicken, loves watching football, and loves making films.
Okay, so can you tell us how you started out in filmmaking?
So mostly I didn't start out trying to be a film director. I started out wanting to be a sitcom writer.
Okay.
Because I grew up watching a lot of sitcoms. And then I sort of just grew up on it. Television was my love. So I'm not one of those guys that had like a eureka moment where I had I said, oh, this is the day I'm going to become a filmmaker. Oh, that's the day. For me, it was just something that I gradually just grew into. So I never had like a eureka moment that said, oh, this day I become a film director. No. I started out trying to be a writer, and then I kind of morphed into directing.
Yeah, you have a good number of films that you've made. Most notably, Children of Mud, The Herbert Macaulay Affair, and The Coffin Salesman. I read your bio, and you worked in live TV. So how did that experience kind of prepare you for making your films, becoming a director?
So I've been working on those live shows. I sometimes work either in producing or in content directing, and so you're sort of in that creative zone, where you had to, make a show look good. Obviously, reality shows have backstories. So there's a little bit of storytelling also in reality shows, game shows. So it's almost film-like, and film is really storytelling, and so that's what prepared me for that. And just being around that frequency of people that were creative, just kind of helped you just learn one or two things about that. But I think essentially what it did for me most of all was the professionalism that came from the business.
Yeah.
I think just being in television, the level of professionalism is super high because there's lots of schedules you have to meet and all of that. And then, when you translate that to film, it makes you even a better filmmaker because, you have schedules that you can keep up with. And to be honest, television is all about schedules. So once you're able to drive that schedule to the letter, you're bound to be successful. So that helped a lot. Being a filmmaker, working with limited budgets and limited time, you had to schedule everything and make sure you hit your numbers.
Yeah. Okay, you've won some awards, most notably the AMVCAs for the new media video. That's for Hard Times, and also the best actor for Tope in The Happiness Limited. Can you talk more about Hard Times? It was a silent film.
Yeah. Hard Times is basically the first Nollywood black and white silent film. Hard Times was a film I made during off-season. Basically, I worked for television that whole year, and I was trying to buy back my soul. I said, you know what, let's go back to how we started. So I just went. I didn't even think I was going to win an award. I just made the film for myself, to be honest.
Yeah.
I remember when I was making the film, a friend of mine came by and said, nobody's going to watch this shit. I'm like, hey, man, don't worry about it. I'm making it for my own fan base. And so we won the award. And for us, it was good representation for us indie art scene, and it just showed us that there were people actually watching these things, and that we could win an award in the mainstream award show. So it was a good time for us. It was the first time that in Hollywood that we had made a black and white silent film. I felt good about it. It was validation for my efforts and for efforts of the actors that put in work into the film.
Yeah.
But it just showed that there was an audience that wanted to watch something else aside from the usual bling and glamour.
Yeah. So yeah, like for me, you are kind of the quintessential indie director. I don't even think it's about the size of the budget, is that you have your fan base and they always shop for you when you release your films. Can you talk more about the following you've gotten over the years? Is it something you consciously were working towards, or they just started rallying behind you?
I'll say half and half. One time I went for a film festival overseas, and then the festival organizer showed me some films that were coming from my country. And for me, I didn't like the fact that these were the people that were assumed to be the people that made films. These were the only people that made films in my country, because I knew that in Nollywood, there are lots of different types of filmmakers. And so for us to be pigeonholed into one genre or sub-genre, I didn't really like it. So I decided then to speak about my work, my projects, and what I'm doing. But also my fan base has also grown almost organically, just following what I release. I mean, my films are not the biggest films of the year, but lots of people, anytime we release something, everybody's dying to watch it. There's like an audience waiting for it. Yeah. Everybody's trying to watch it. Everybody's clamoring for it, And so we sort of built that cult following for my work. And that's been really helpful because, now I have my own army. So when I'm going to negotiate or I'm going to do something, I'm like, yo, I'm going to bring my entire army here. And then, everybody knows that, okay, there's representation. Because now we live in a world where representation is key. Yeah. So if you're saying that, oh, I'm going to do this thing, I'm doing this thing, everybody's going to ask you how many people are following that thing, how many people watch it, how many people listen to that thing. So we live in a world of representation. And so it is growing organically. Honest to God, sometimes I don't know how. Because sometimes I just wake up in the morning and, people are like, yo, man, when are you making the next film? Oh, I saw the Coffin Salesman. Oh, my God, I saw Children of Mud. And everybody's just trying to fight. Everybody's like, why you don't put your film on Netflix? So everybody's trying to fight for me to get even more mainstream. And it's surprising for me to see, like, I have dedicated followers. I've watched all my works from All Sorts of Trouble to Herbert Macaulay. They've watched everything that I've done, So it's very pleasing to me as a director to have an audience that actively follow my work. It may not be a lot, it may not be 1 million people, but it's enough.
Yeah. Yeah, what type of stories do you like to tell?
I mean, I like to tell human stories. I like to show the vulnerability of human beings. I like to confront society with something that we have been trying to avoid.
Yeah.
So I like telling stories about the human struggle, human triumph, and realistic as possible. I mean, sometimes it may be a bit heartbreaking in the end, but what I strive to do is to tell the truth with my films. And my philosophy is that if one person has been affected by film, to go out and help somebody else, I would have achieved all I came to Earth to do.
Okay. And talking about Children of Mud, it was inspired by a true life story. How did you come about the original story?
I mean, I'm from that part of the country where kids are thrown out of their houses and accused of witchcraft because of one thing or the other. We live in a world where people no longer take responsibility for their own actions. So they outsource the responsibility to other people. So if you're not succeeding in life, it's either your wife bewitched you, your stepmother bewitched you, or everybody hates you, or the government did that to you. So that's the universe that we live in.
Yeah.
And so these kids are a product of that lack of responsibility by adults who somehow look for who to blame for their own misfortune, and which, if you have a good conversation with them, you realize it boils down to sometimes their lack of intelligence or lack of, just sacrifices to be successful. Because sometimes, to be successful, you have to make sacrifices. You have to go through certain things for you to go beyond that. And so now what do you do? The next thing you look around, you're like, oh, who's this weird looking kid with big eyes? This kid is a witch. This kid is a wizard. Throw him out of the house.
Yeah.
And so we ascribe too much power to nefarious spirits. And then we kind of just sit back and expect that life would somehow happen. But life doesn't happen. And so that's what happened with these kids. So I come from that region, where these things happen. And I have, I haven't witnessed it firsthand, but I have seen it happen to people. I've seen these kids on the street. And I said, you know what, I'll make a film about it. And luckily for me, the film, was as impactful as I wanted. It was shown in UNICEF. It was shown in the American Black Film Festival. It's been everywhere. Sometimes, people call me from different parts of the country and say, oh, I just saw Children of Mud. It recently got on Apple TV. Yeah. And also for me, it's like, I like the fact that I documented that story, showed it. I mean, the actress was the youngest person ever nominated for an AMVCA. She went up against Omotola Jalade and everybody else. Yeah. And everybody thought she was going to win. Even in the end, Omotola won, which obviously is okay. But just being 12, being nominated for an AMVCA Best Actress category, it was a big, big deal for us. Yeah. It was a big deal for us. And, it showed how much work we put in there. We're nominated for like four categories. I think Best movie West Africa and two other categories. I think Best Art Direction and one other one, at the AMVCS. And for us, it was a big deal. We were happy about it. We didn't win, but we're happy that we're competing with massive films around the continent. So, it was good for us. But we hold the record of the actress being the youngest actress ever nominated for the AMVCA. We hold our record.
Yeah. And you ended up working with her on the Coffin Salesman.
Yeah. And also, we started working together on the Happiness Limited, which I made and licensed to Morocco. And then we now worked on Children of Mud. And then we now worked on the Coffin Salesman.
Yeah. What extra measures do you put in place when you're, directing kids? There's this notion that, it's always difficult to direct kids. How do you do it? Because, you have made 3 films with a kid being in a central position.
Yeah. I think that for me, I treat them as adults. Like when we're walking together, not every other place. Usually like they will come with their parents. Their parents usually will be hotel with them and everything and all that. Yeah. But once they come on set, I treat them like adults. And you'll be surprised how intelligent kids are. I tell them exactly what emotion I want them to feel. I tell them, this is what you have to do. This is what you have to do. I show them samples. And I promise you, those kids go there and perform.
Yeah.
So for me, when you're directing a child, don't underrate their own ability to grasp information. Yeah. Kids soak up a lot of information. A lot of times they mimic what adults do. And so most times when I'm directing them, I can show and tell them like, oh, this is what I need to do. And sometimes, they get it right. And just being accessible to them, them coming up to you. I think generally my philosophy in life is that everybody can act once they're comfortable enough. Yeah. So one of the first steps as a director to pull out the performance from an actor is to get them to relax and be comfortable. Because if you look, all of us, when we were young, we used to jump up and down in our houses, sing inside the fan, draw things on our faces, run around, all that. The reason we did that was because we're comfortable, we're in our home. And so that's the key thing. Once you make an actor, even adults, once you make an actor comfortable, you can extract one of the greatest performances from them once they can trust you. Because performance is about trust. It's like, if I fall, are you going to catch me? Yeah. So there's got to be a trust between the director and the actor. And so when the actor trusts you as a director, and you can get that. So the key thing is winning them over, getting them to plug into the vision and getting their trust. And now you get the performance out of them.
You also work with, would I say, non-mainstream actors. Like, how do you go about discovering them? What's your auditioning process like?
My audition process is pretty open. I put up a notice and like, oh, we're casting for so thing. People come on, everybody comes in auditions. If sometimes even like real big names come through. Like we're about to shoot a series now. We had an audition for 2 days. Everybody came through, big names, small names. I'm a guy that hires actors. I don't care about movie stars. I hire actors. Yeah. If you're a good actor and you're good for that role, sometimes you may be good, but you may not be what we're looking for that particular role. So it doesn't mean that you're a bad actor. It just means maybe we're looking for somebody that talks with a lisp for a character. And then, and because sometimes some actors, when you don't get a part, they get upset like, oh, you didn't cast me for your thing. Oh, man, I'm not talking to you again. That sort of thing. But, that's not how it rolls. Right? It rolls is that, you come, you audition, we see that you're the one for the job, and we hire you. I don't care about who's the big name or who's. I know a lot of big names that are my personal friends that will never work together. So many of them that we're personal friends and that we never work together, and they keep saying, "When are you going to hire me?" I'm like, you know what? When I find the right role for you, we'll work together. We're here for a long time. So for me, it's like once you're good at the job is yours.
Yeah. You made the film about Herbert Macaulay, the founding father of Nigerian nationalism.
Yes.
How did you go about planning to make this period drama?
I started by writing and researching. The researching was very lengthy because we couldn't find a lot of materials in Nigeria. We had to get some materials from the UK. The library in Ibadan was burnt down. I had some of his letters, some of his things. I cried so much at how badly we document our things. We're so bad with documenting things, our history books. It's just sad. It's really, really sad. I broke down and cried, really. Me and my writer, we're so depressed about that whole thing, just trying to get these things together, bits and pieces of the guy's history. It was difficult for us, but eventually we pieced together enough information to make our story.
Yeah.
What was surprising for us is that most people thought Herbert Macaulay was white. They didn't realize he was a black man. It was so sad to hear that. And so we started. One of Herbert's grandkids was also my co-producer. I hired one of Herbert's grandkids because I wanted it to be as authentic as possible. Yeah. His voice, the way he looked. In fact, the first day I sent the picture to Herbert Macaulay's descendants, he said, "That's Herbert Macaulay." He said, "That's Herbert Macaulay." He's an old man, and that's what I was trying to do, was try and document this enigmatic figure that we've somehow ignored in our history, sort of. Yeah. That was one of the guys that really pushed for our nationalism. So so we started out. We cast the right actor, William Benson. In fact, it was the UK when I was trying to make the film. I had to wait for him to get back to Nigeria. Yeah. And I hired him for the project and got him to get ready. We watched shows like The Crown and some period pieces about, period pieces of that era. We learned some bit of mannerism, how they spoke, how they dressed, how they carried themselves. We learned quite a lot of little things that we added to his character. And then, for me, even everybody on the film looks as close to real life characters as physically possible. Every single person. We were very, very particular. We found the pictures. We didn't find the picture. We found the picture of the descendants to see how they looked physically. And then we used that to hire the people that look like them. Because what we had is a film that even in 50 years to 100 years, you go and watch the Herbert Macaulay Affair, you're like, oh, this is what happened. Man, this was real. This is actually what happened. Yeah. And that's what we did with the film.
Of course, it's a period drama. How did you go about, sourcing props, location, costumes?
For costumes, we made everything from scratch. Every single costume that was made from scratch. We built a lot of the sets. Luckily for us, we shot part of it in Ibadan, and Ibadan still has a bit of the colonial building in some places left. Yeah. But the rest we built a lot of the sets. We built the props as well. We found the pictures, found the dimensions, and built them.
Yeah.
We built everything. The cars we built. We built so many things, man. It was intensive in terms of art direction, just trying to get everything to the level that it was. So we did a lot of work building a lot of those things.
I read that you tweeted about wanting to make this film, and somebody DM'd you that how much do you need?
Yes. Straight up. I just said, oh, I want to make a film about Herbert Macaulay. And somebody says, how much do you need? And send me the money. So we'll send me part of the money because I co-funded myself. But he sent me part of the money. And literally that's how I made the film. So for me, raising finance for it wasn't very hard. But at this point, when I made Herbert Macaulay, I already had a big reputation. Yeah. And people already see a lot of my works, and they know Children of Mud, they know the Coffin Salesman, They know, the Happiness Limited. People kind of know, okay, it's Imoh. He's going to make something different. And so when the guy sends me the DM and says, how much do you need? I want to co-fund the project. And he did. And I put up the other half and we went on and shot the film. So that's how I met Herbert Macaulay Affair.
In a normal project, how do you, go about with looking for finance for your film as an indie filmmaker?
I mean, there are two ways I raise money. Sometimes I put up my own money. Sometimes people offer to invest in my films, but I don't accept money from everybody because most people don't know the film gestation period. Some people think it's a fad. Like, okay, if I put 50 million, if I put 20 million, you're going to give me 100 million in 1 month or 2 months. So usually when people try to offer me money, I'm like, no, don't worry about it. I don't want it. Because there's no point in accepting money from people. At the end of the day, there's too much pressure from you. Well, you're trying to create art. And so, this is not so I'm not selling bananas.
Yeah.
So most times I don't accept money. And to be honest, that's why I keep my films budget manageable, because I want that creative control. Now, people can say, and listen, I'm not knocking anybody that, makes their own films their own way. It's fine. I watch them. A lot of them are my friends. I go to their premieres. I watch them. I enjoy them. I'm there with them. But for me, I just have a different philosophy about my films, in that I want creative control because I want to be able to tell the story that I want to tell without me worrying about what you think, in the sense that I'm not being a snob, but I don't want you to tell me what film to make, because then the vision is not original to me. You have your own idea, especially if you're putting up the money for it. You probably come and say, Imoh, hire this person. Now, I may not want to hire that person because, I don't think that's the right person to do the project. And you may want me to hire the person, and it becomes a bit of an issue because obviously you're my executive producer and you want that. I don't really want to go down that path. So for me, I like that creative control of making a film and saying, you know what, I made that film. That's my vision. That's my film. But the key thing for me is that I made the film the way I wanted to make it, and people went and watched it, and that was it.
Yeah. Your latest film, Dear Bio, it was shot in the Niger Delta.
Yes.
So this is like quite peculiar because most people shoot in Lagos, Abuja, other places. So what were the benefits of shooting in Niger Delta?
It was an original story that was set in the Niger Delta. So for me, it was just more soulful to go and shoot in the Niger Delta, and it was beautiful just to go there and just capture that soul of that place. If you watch Dear Bio, that's the first thing that hits you, is the soulfulness of the film that comes across to you.
Yeah.
So I went there and shot it. I don't shoot most of my films in Lagos, to be honest. I think I probably just shot Club. I'm part of Herbert Macaulay Affair. I usually shoot my film out of Lagos because I want to be able to film exteriors without fear of area boys jumping me.
Yeah. So what I found helpful was, before this interview, I was able to look for some of your films and find them on several streaming platforms. How do you select who you license your film to? What criteria do you have that the VOD platforms must meet?
So what happens is that I have different distributors for my different projects. And so they come to me and say, sometimes they give me a long list and say, so want to license your film. So we go through the list, look at the deals that are good, and then we go for it. So almost every other week, I've got an email about some licensing, people trying to license the projects and all that, every other week even. We also look at platforms that are also in tune with what we're doing. Like I said, my films appeal to certain kind of people. I want it to be that way. I don't necessarily want my film to be, on HBO or Netflix or NTA or any of. No, I don't necessarily want that. I want if you're putting my film on your platform, what are our targets? So most times people will send a proposal, people will send, companies will send their brief introduction of their company and their numbers and their target market, what they have. We go through it, we see it, we say, okay, now let's go, let's strike a deal. So for me, like I said, money is not my primary objective. I make money, don't get me wrong, I make a lot of money, but it's not my driving force. I don't wake up in the morning and say, oh man, this film has to make 100 million. No, it doesn't have to make 100 million. this film has to be seen by people that it is meant for. So it has to impact the people that is meant to impact. And that for me is my primary objective of filmmaking is to, like I said, this is not a knock on anybody that has a different reason why they make films. People make films for so many different reasons. But for me, I knew why I got into filmmaking, and I saw that just I'm on the right path to what I'm trying to achieve in my filmmaking.
Yeah. So Kelechi Udebe has featured in at least 3 of your films. Can you talk more about your collaboration with him as an actor?
Oh, and then he's also in my new series, Channel 77, and we're about to shoot a new sitcom from Sunday together. So Kelechi is a very frequent collaborator with me because he's the one guy that I know that can weave between comedy and serious. He can do everything. And it's almost sometimes like I live through him in the sense of what I'm trying to achieve. It's like he knows exactly what I'm trying to achieve. Yeah. Like we recently licensed Channel 77 to Glow, so it's going to be launched soon. And when you see that show, you will be astounded at how massive Kelechi Udebe is, how amazing he is. And literally, for every project that we've worked on, it's almost like we are twins. Yeah. Because every single thing that I think of is what he does. Is what, like I tell him when I'm explaining his motivation to him, or even his facial reaction, he knows exactly what I want. And he just does it. And sometimes I just find myself clapping. I'm like, God damn it, this is so good. And so we've had that. We do, we work a lot. So we're about to start a sitcom. We're shooting a new sitcom starting on Sunday. And so he's always in fact, sometimes some people have to say like, yo, stop using Kelechi. I'm like, you know what? So I have a couple of friends that are like, Kelechi, let's not work together. Let's not look like we're always together. Yeah. But I mean, he's a brilliant actor. And most directors around the world have frequent collaborators that they work with. And so once you find an actor that really interprets your vision, why are you gonna find somebody else?
Yeah, definitely. So let's talk about Channel 77. You were on set and then the pandemic happened and there was a lockdown.
Yes.
How did you deal with that?
I mean, it was torrid time. It was a horrible experience because we had invested so much money in it, built all these elaborate sets and everything came crashing down. We didn't finish the series. It was, even till now, it's very difficult just getting back to work. And one of my actors lost 2 of our uncles. It was a horrible experience for everybody. So I had to shut down. I heard some people were still shooting, but I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to risk the lives of people by putting people in a space to keep working, because it was a big cast, big crew members, almost like close to 100 people on set every day. I said, no, I'm not doing this shit. So we stopped working, and, we are only just recovering from the pandemic, to be honest. We spent close to a year just dealing with that. But what I did do is that I spent that time just editing what we had shot so far. Yeah. And, try to license those. License some in the US. And we just licensed some to Glow, license the whole thing to Glow. So, we're getting lots of licensing requests now. I think that by the end of the year / next year, we will be in a lot of platforms.
Okay. So did you eventually go back on set, or you just had to, work with what you guys shot?
No, I didn't go back. I didn't go back on set because I didn't have the money. I lost a lot of money, bro. I couldn't go back. We couldn't go back. So what we did, we just paid people up to where we stopped. Just paid everybody, crew, cast. We had to just go back. But luckily, we had shot, I think, about 10 episodes or thereabout. And so it was supposed to be a 1-hour show, but I had to now cut it down to be 30 minutes because at the end of the day, it just didn't work out the way we planned it. But that's life. But we will continue. We're currently writing the new season for Channel 77. So I think that once we launch it this July, we will then proceed to schedule shooting a new season.
So let's talk about, making money from films. I think, you're kind of good with distribution, getting the VOD platforms. I mean, you've taken one of your films to cinema. You've made some TV films. Can you talk us through, like, the different options you have for maximizing profits from your intellectual property?
Yeah, I think the number one way to first thing own your IP, no matter what happens. Even if you shoot an ant crawling into a hole, own that shit. The next step is to make sure that it is shot well, technically brilliant, everything story-wise, performance-wise. The third step is to find a distributor that distributes your type of films. For instance, if you make an art film, don't go and try and get a mainstream distributor to shoehorn your film in there. You're going to hurt yourself. It's a waste of time and you get no money.
Yeah.
And so when you find a distributor, be patient with yourself. Be patient, find the right distributor for your project, and then sit back and enjoy your wealth. Because what happens is that the distributors are going to take your film, pitch it to different platforms, and send you your monies, take their cut, send you your monies. Sometimes you can also be involved in there by going directly to the broadcasters and saying, "Oh, listen, you want to license my film?" Do not be shameless in your marketing. Approach your marketing like a market woman, selling pepper, selling secondhand clothes. Yeah. Approach it like that. Don't be too cool for your own marketing. Go down and dirty. Talk a good game. Like, yo, I'm making Herbert Macaulay Affair. It's going to be the best film of the year. Now, it doesn't have to be the best film of the year or the best film of that 5 years. It's not the best film of the year. It doesn't matter. But when you're confident enough in selling your product, people will listen to you and like, oh, okay, let's go and see that product. You know what I'm saying? So be shameless about it. There's nothing to be ashamed of. You have a product, a good product, take it to market. Sell it, get people to buy it, get people to talk about it, engage people on it. It may be criticism, it's fine. It may be compliments, it's fine. As far as people talk about that product, the product has market value. But essentially, make films that can be watched all around the world, that people will understand the story.
Yeah.
Yeah, because a lot of films that we make here sometimes don't go beyond the borders because the stories are too typical to us and people outside don't know what it is that they're talking about. Make stories that you can watch in India, watch in Japan, watch, wherever, Australia, and it's still relevant. People still understand what that story is about. That way, you don't limit your market to just Nigeria-wide or Africa-wide. Yeah. You can license all around the world and you still make a lot of money.
Okay. So for the Herbert Macaulay Affair, you also took the route of merchandising some stuff.
Yeah.
So can you talk more about that?
Well, I think that film merchandising is something that we have not really explored in Nollywood. And I was surprised. We made over 3 to 4 million naira from just merchandising of Herbert Macaulay. Yeah. It was amazing. In fact, at the point we were overwhelmed, I just said, we're not doing it again. So I just started to explore it because I was like, I wanted something people to have something to hold on to remember. Like we used to have Hard Rock Cafe T-shirts, or you have Back to the Future.
Yeah.
Back to the Future T-shirts. And then I wanted something that people can hold on to and say, I was there in that moment. Because the film, you can forget about the film, but you can still have the hoodie in your house. So we explored that, and we had so many people. People used to just order for their companies, order for their offices. It was amazing. I was so overwhelmed. I wanted to put a stop to it. It was amazing that even after the film had been out of the cinemas, like even as recently as 2 months ago, someone still ordered a Macaulay hoodie, ordered 5 of it. Yeah. So at the end of the day, it's a legit source of revenue that can add to your total revenue in the end, and it could even outlive your film's cinema run, because it could be 5 years down the line, somebody wants a Herbert hoodie. Literally, I think it was even yesterday, somebody asked me on Twitter, like, are you not still making Herbert hoodies? I'm like, you know what, we're not really doing that because we're swamped with other projects right now, and then maybe after those projects we'll bring back a classic. Maybe the 5 years anniversary we'll relaunch the hoodies again and all that, and the film again.
Okay, good stuff. So as a filmmaker, what inspires you to wake up every morning and go on set and make stuff?
There's so many things. The people around me, my mother, my kid, there's so many things that inspire me. My child inspires me a lot these days because I want him to grow up and have a record of his father.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to die sometime in future, and obviously, God willing, my child will outlive me, and maybe through my films, he would understand his father better, and then maybe that can inspire him somehow. My late mom was really an inspiration to me. My mom was a university lecturer, and she used to take out books for me to read in the library, and that really inspired me. I always wanted to make stories for her. Unfortunately, she died when I was 13, but I always wanted to make stories for her to show her, that I was good enough.
Yeah.
That I had learned something from her. Because my mom was very brilliant. Then people just inspire me, just being around Nigerians, just seeing how we overcome difficulty and everything. It's just inspiring.
Yeah, that's very key. Okay, how about craft wise? Do other filmmakers inspire your work?
Oh yeah. A lot of Nigerian filmmakers inspire my work. The key being my friend Walter Taylor, who made Bomber Express. He just made a new film, Jolly Roger. That's one of my number one inspiration in Nigeria. There's a director called Wes Anderson.
Yeah,
he's an American director. He inspires me a lot. His art direction is amazing. And then I'm inspired by a lot of other indie filmmakers, man. Like I have this whole indie filmmaker group that I'm in, and so many things that people shoot around the world in Norway, in Sweden. Just so many people making like brilliant films. Yeah. And so they inspire me a lot when I just, hear them talk and we just vibe about different things. What's happening in your country, what are you making? We just iron sharpen iron, so we just bounce off ideas.
Yeah. If you're stuck on an island and you have to watch one film or one TV series over and over again, which one would that be?
The first I'll watch will be The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, which is based on a book by Douglas Adams. It used to be based on the BBC radio drama.
Yeah.
But it became a book. Now, if the book came before the drama, I forgot to think about it. And then they made a film out of it, and it was amazing. Another film that I will watch over and over again is Pirates of the Caribbean.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just like Nigeria, Nollywood needs a lot of improvements. For you, what should we be focusing on?
I'll say stories. But this is a result of distribution also. Because distributors now dictate what filmmakers are making, filmmakers tend to now write similar stories because something worked one time. So let's say a film is called Golden Lagosians, and it's a film about rich Lagosians living in Banana Island, the 1%. And that film made 150 million naira.
Yeah.
The next person that's going to make a film is going to make Shine Lagosians. And tries to mimic that whole thing. And maybe that one makes 70 million naira. Guess what? The third person is going to make something similar.
Yeah.
And try to key into that market. And that makes the stories not diverse enough. And that makes we literally make the same things. And it's so bad that we even hire the same guys for the same type of films, that they look like sequels of each other. So, and don't get me wrong, it's nothing wrong with trying to make what's happening, because I mean, even in Hollywood, the time they made White House Down, and then they made a very similar film to
Olympus Has Fallen.
What's up? Olympus Has Fallen. Yeah. So they make a lot of very similar 51 dates. The time they make it like rom-coms, and they were so similar.
Yeah.
Because those were the elements of the films that were selling. But this is a result of creatives allowing people that are not creative to dictate to them what they should make. And whether we like it or not, that's very damaging to our craft. It may look like, okay, we're trying to make a buck, but in the end of the day, we're not fucking Comedy Central.
Yeah.
We're an industry with diverse people, hundreds and hundreds of different filmmakers with different backgrounds.
Yeah.
Why we try to tell the same story when the stories are abounding all around the country? We try to tell the same story. Why? Why are we doing that? So for me, it's story which is dependent on distribution and cowardice, to be honest. Because if you're brave enough, you gotta make the film that you want to make and like fuck everybody. This is the film I want to make, and that's it. But then I guess also people want to make money, but I personally don't think from my school of thought that money should be the number one driving force to why you want to make a film. But it's nothing wrong if that's what you want to do. You want to make your money, then that's fine. But at least just try and tell a good story.
Yeah. So how can people keep up with your work?
Well, I mean, I announce my work most times. Most times it's shown on TV or a broadcast platform. Most people get to see it. Like now I'm shooting a new series, and then I'm shooting a sitcom, and then I'm shooting The Pretty Ones Are Loneliest. So I announce my work. I try to promote it as much as I can. People that see it get to see it, and new work is coming out. I will have new work coming out.
I'll wait for your new work.
Mm-hmm.
What's your social media handle?
Social media is at Imoh Umoren on Twitter. That's where I am mostly. And then Instagram is at the Imoh Umoren.
Thank you, Imoh, for coming on the podcast, and all the best with your shoot.
Thanks, man. I appreciate this.
We have come to the end of this episode. Please remember to leave a rating and a review. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Lego Film, and the podcast also on Instagram and Twitter at the Naija Film Pod. See you on the next episode. Have a good one.